Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. I'm your host, Julie Yip. Today, we're here to talk about holiday giving, the importance of being a role model to our children and for the future generation. Julie cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV trong chương trình kiến thức y khoa gia đình và xã hội. Hôm nay chúng ta nói về holiday giving, là tại làm sao và quan trọng cho mình làm mẫu cho con của mình trong cái tương lai để giúp được cộng đồng của mình. Now, Nikki, I know that you represent today Purist, but there's so many organizations that you're a part of. But today, tell me a little bit about PuristGroup and what that means to you, and what's your work relationship?
Sure. PuristGroup is a community of car enthusiasts, car lovers, and not even those who just appreciate cars, in the community. Come together and we do a lot of things for the community, and that's our goal, is to give back and influence our next generation.
When I look at the social media, I always see these Bugattis and these cars that I cannot afford. But people don't know about the Purist Group. It's a group of car enthusiasts, people who love cars. Because for a long time, I joke about it. I tell people I drive a bucket. I drove a 2004 Honda Accord for the last 15 years of my life. And I look like I don't have any money in the bank. But, the thing about it is Purist is such an inviting group of people. And I feel like a brotherhood and a sisterhood. I think that's where I met you. Wing, right? And that's what I love about the Purist Group. It's just genuinely doing good for the community. So thank you so much for all you do and for representing the organization today. Wing, tell me a little bit about Wahoo's Taco and also California Love.
Well, so in the beginning of the pandemic, literally within the day they announced and all non-essential businesses to shut down, that was Wednesday. By Friday, within 2 days, we lost 85% of our business.
Wow.
I mean, it was like literally a ghost town. So we sent all the employees home with everything that we could, but there was still a lot of leftover stuff that was prepped for the weekend.
Okay.
That was going to go to waste. So since all the food banks, everything got closed, it was like, well, who's out there open? Hospitals. So I got a group of friends and said, let's go out and deliver, food to all the nurses as a thank you for keeping us safe and sound. So what started as just the hospitals turned into police, fire, schools, senior centers, all the different groups out there that were still taking care of the community. So without any help, it would have been impossible. So I started calling people, and I ended up with Nikki. I had my friends from Yogurtland, our friends from Monster Energy Drink, Cliff Bar, KLOS radio station, Antis Roofing. So everybody came together and pitched in and said, hey, if you don't have a product that we can use, then maybe you can use some funds to pay and buy some of the other stuff we needed to do. So that's what we were doing. Heidi and Frank, they literally gave us a check for $750 so we can get the little bottles. Because remember, we had the gallon jugs of hand sanitizer.
Right.
We need to transfer them to the little ones.
Correct.
So we said, well, we need to buy cases of that. And all of us were in the warehouse using the funnels.
But I think that's the importance of having that friendship and the relationship, especially during the pandemic. You know who's going to be there for you.
Yeah. So basically, when you're doing always charity work, you tend to surround yourself with people that do a lot of it. So when there's nothing else going on, we all came together and, we were doing all the stuff that we needed to do. And we weren't sure if we were going to have a toy drive in 2020, but we ended up doing a drive-through. We ended up doing a couple of them, and it ended up being great.
Well, thank you so much for reminding us that, we're amongst leaders and helpers and, for feeding the first responders too. It's a stressful time. It was such a stressful time for all of us.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you were able to feed them and give them the energy to continue to give back. And what about you, Ben? So tell me a little bit about SSA and what you guys do in the community.
So with SSA, with me and my team, is what we do, trying to look for charity that we work with. And obviously with the car community, we do some events with the Purist Group, obviously because we know Sean Lee and a lot of my guys are in the car community. So we kind of help out as much as we can. And then Julie reached out to us and said, hey, when we get the OT and SSA together, and we'll create an event called Rigs and Exotics. At that point, it just started since summertime last year, right? It was a hot day to do a toy drive event, but we made it happen. I know a lot of people came out and support us, even though the heat was killing everybody. It was a tiring day for all of us. But it's one of those feel goods that, you know, if you could afford to give back, why not give back now? Because tomorrow is not a promising day. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? So might as well do what you can today. And for me, is like being the right role model for my kids, and that's why I do this for my family too.
Okay, so as you guys do charity work in the community, what kind of people do you meet along the way?
All sorts of people.
Everybody, all ages, from all backgrounds, different stories.
Is there anybody that you've met that really stands out to you, that really changed you? Because, you know, I think when I do my charity event, there's always that one person, or like, you know, many people. But, you know, recently I had interviewed for a position for a speech therapy job at the clinic. And one of the girl came and I interviewed her, and she said, "Oh, I think my mom took me to your event when I was young." And so she said to me that year, their family had so much financial hardship that our party was the only Christmas party they had and the only toys they received for the whole year. And she was in tears during my interview sharing that. You know, and I think, you know, when you give, you really ask for nothing in return. But when these stories come back, it really changes you. So I think that's one thing I know, that, you know, when you give, you really don't expect anything. You know, so is there any stories that really come to mind, or any kid or any family that really stands out to you guys?
You know, early on, a group in the summer of 2020, it's called the Sisters of Watts. So imagine us being in Orange County, we're like, well, we know where Watts is, but we're not going there. And again, the same thing, it was a hot day, you know, it was like 95, 100 degrees, and they were doing drive-through pantries where people would come and get their meals. So we said, well, let's, you know, so we went up there not knowing what to expect, and we were literally in the thick of it. Cars were coming through, and basic questions, how many meals and all that. And then after that, it was such a good, you know, like team effort by everybody. It says, we got our back to school, then we're gonna have our toys. So we went there multiple times. But remember, this is like Compton Boulevard. I mean, this is in the hood. And we're like, are you sure we're supposed to be here? But it was just such an amazing, and as Charles always says, giving a Hispanic family churro flavored frozen yogurt. The look on their eyes is like, churro flavored frozen yogurt. But just that whole unexpected, you know. So the joy that you get from handing somebody that they're not expecting.
Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing all the information, your experiences with us. Thưa quý vị, hôm nay Julie có một thời gian mời được ba người bạn giúp cho cộng đồng của mình. Trước nhất là Nikki nói đó là trong công việc của chị giúp cho cộng đồng thì thấy rất nhiều mấy em rất có cái nhiều vui vẻ và niềm vui. Anh Nguyên cũng chia sẻ với mình đó là lúc mà anh Nguyên giúp cho cộng đồng thì thấy đó là thấy mấy em cái mặt sáng sủa lên, thấy mình có sức để cho mình tiếp tục làm việc trong cộng đồng. Sau phần quảng cáo, chúng tôi sẽ nói thêm về cái chương trình gần sắp tới đến đây, đó là cái toy drive cho OC Autism, cho PuristGroup, cho California Love. So cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV đã theo dõi chương trình hôm nay.